Well, I'll let my group mates here chime in, but to me, the two big takeaways that I had that I think were that you can't leave out of the discussion was de-skilling. John talked about, the risk of de-skilling if you just always allow the technology to make your decisions for you. And I also think that, we talked around a little bit about automation versus augmentation, which is something I'm really interested in, how that changes people's building of trust, the building of, I think that's the difference between potentially building relational coordination, so those aspects versus losing it. And then the other kind of theme that I think that I heard was kind of led by Greg, and some of the concerns about giving agency and giving this sort of feeling that this was a teammate, that this was a standalone thing, and that's problematic for a lot of reasons. And so I'll let folks jump in on what I missed or what are the key points there I didn't do justice.
I think you did good justice. So thank you. I guess the point about the AI algorithm was something that we discussed as well. What's in the AI algorithm, which is so often a black box, and we had some discussion about trying to push the AI developers to not have a black box, but make it a glass box or make it transparent. Let's see what the assumptions are behind the algorithms.
Kartik, it looks like you have a question in the chat.
Yes, John, I read your question. Very transparent. But the question is, did you discuss who are the decision makers or experts? Is this really transparency or the illusion of transparency? Were you expecting an interaction, not a main effect of transparency? We were. The hypothesis was that there would be an interaction, but between at least algorithmic and transparency, which we did not see, especially not for the underqualified and just with candidates. So that was definitely something which we wanted to see and kind of learn about it. So, and for the experimental purpose, this is kind of, it's not just the illusion of transparency, because we are providing the information in terms of how that algorithmic decision was made, but the affordance that this piece or that manipulation gives can be framed in that sense, that you kind of just learn about it. What, Jody? Yes.
I just to pick up on some of these things, but also what we talked about in our breakout. It's interesting because I do agree transparency matters, and we want to know what's in the programming and whether it's whether the standards are ethical and equitable, et cetera. But with generative AI, it seems like it's beyond the programming to, in addition, how AI is learning from us. And so how are we continually shaping AI because it's learning from us? And can we do that intentionally in order to build more of a relational coordination dynamic with AI? Because if we're really disrespectful with each other and with AI, then you think it would, kind of pick, I don't know. It just seems like we have the opportunity not only to be programming early on and checking later on, but there's a continuous plasticity going to come. Some of Tom Broussard's work on neuroplasticity. AI is incredibly plastic, and maybe there's a more ongoing shaping process that we have to take responsibility for. Just a thought. But how to do that when we're so divided?
I was also intrigued by the concerns about agency in your group, in the other group. So I wanted to hear more about that, like what it means by what that actual thought was in terms of providing or limiting the agency that AI or algorithmic tools might have or not have within a team?
So I would invite Greg, if you feel comfortable sharing some of your comments to the group about sort of what you've seen, your background. I think that would be great to share.
You're on mute.
You're still muted.
Which Greg are you? Which Greg are you referring to? There were two in the group.
Whichever one wants it, but I remember the other Greg Esty specifically.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Greg. Greg Esty specifically talked about his experience and having sort of clients and practitioners have issues with sort of the agency of AI.
Sure. So for those who are in the other group, I'm coming at this sort of by Jody's courtesy. I'm a practitioner at Mass General Hospital, develop systems and implement systems and hear a lot of feedback about systems. So my particular concern as a builder of things, and including decision support systems, has to do with we often are trying to debunk any notion that our system has agency. We as system builders have agency, and we want to make our agendas clear. And it is very easy for people to slip into attributing agency to the thing, which is often a black box, and lose sight of whatever agendas are kind of influencing the creation of the tool. So I'm very much in the tool camp, as you know, is coming out, even for the extremely opaque modern incarnations of the machine learning, such as ChatGPT and its relatives. So for me, the attribution of agency to the AI at all is a problem. And I want to understand who owns the AI and who's directing it. So that's the part that came out of me. So we had a very interesting group. So that's enough for me.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say we can take one more comment or question. We're almost at time.
Like, go for it, please.
So, I had a final question and also maybe comments about both presentations. I was wondering to what extent we could consider that algorithmic transparency in the end could contribute to the coordinating knowledge that Jennifer presented. I mean, from the very moment that you know how an algorithm works, maybe this is something that you can internalize and that would have an impact on the nature of shared knowledge that you would have with the algorithm, also with maybe the mutual respect, so to say, toward the algorithm, and not directly toward the algorithm, but maybe toward the people who coded the algorithm. This was part of the discussion that we had in the other group, knowing that maybe rather than only considering the way that we coordinate with an algorithm, it's also the way that the developers of the algorithm coordinated with other people, namely the users or the people who ordered for the algorithm. Well, just a very broad question to end. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a direct answer to your question, but I think your points are well taken. And I think related to that is, what is the short-term and long-term effect of how it's presented and what is presented and the transparency of it? Because there's my potential trust and potential shared understanding and all those things with the developers. But one of the things, and I think John had to hop off, but that de-skilling to me is if the system always recommends who I talk to, or the system always recommends what information we exchange, or something like that, to my examples, then have I lost the ability to know this is an exception, this really, I don't care what the algorithm suggests, this is the best person to see this case, or those types of things. And so to me, that's where that transparency, and then also leaving the human still in some version of a driver's seat to accept the decision, because I think you can kind of go two ways. You can either de-skill, and most of the time the AI generated coordination episode is good enough, I'm just going to follow its lead. Or you could teach with it. And so they could start to learn, oh, this is the type of physician, and maybe there's some transparency notes here. This is why it suggested that cardiologist. I've never worked with that cardiologist, but next time I'm in a different hospital, I may call over for a consult, or those types of things. And so I think that's a really interesting point to bring up.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Kartik. Thanks to our organizers, our visitors, members. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Jody, for putting in the chat. We do have our roundtable coming up. So let's have more discussions. And we also have another upcoming RC Cafe at December 7th. So I think that's December 7th. So look on our website for registration links. And thank you all.
Thank you, Hannah, for organizing.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Jody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye.
Kartik. Appreciate it, Hannah.
Very much.